Let's have a look at the fourth passage. Now, this talks about cities. It says that, in cities, the frenetic energy of crowds is feared and fetishized. So we fear the crowds also, and at the same time, we have an excessive admiration also for these crowds. So the author talks about the scenarios in which fear, comes to the fore. Then how it is fetishized also, that also the author talks about. So rubbing shoulders with strangers is considered both a pleasure and a pain of urban life, right? So both these two opposing views are always present. The pandemic temporarily disrupted this because people wanted to stay away from each other, right? So in fact it was thought that after the pandemic more and more people will probably move to the suburbs, but that was temporary only, right? Because we have now again seen that the residential property prices are at an all-time high. There are new demands to build more apartments, so it was just temporary. Then the author says that social scientists have long struggled with the question of density of crowds. To them, they can actually represent an engine for immigrant assimilation, economic empowerment, a site of diverting from the standard, a space for cultural freedom. So they look at the city as something positive. At the same time, in much of the world's poorer nations, living in the sprawl, okay, living with a lot of space, that remains a mark of affluence. So they would view the densities of cities as something negative, right? Density is something to be transcended. So the author then says, is there an alternative that lies somewhere in between these two opposing views? That does not look at cities as just positive or just negative. So the author raises certain questions that can we have another kind of density with close-knit communities, sustainable places where car use is minimized, consumption is decreased, and people can walk out their front door into a unique and enlivening environment. So the author raises these questions towards the end. This is what this passage is about. Question 14. What do the questions at the end of the passage signify? So why has the author asked those questions? Let's read the options. A possible way out of the fear that people have about city life. The possibility of a middle ground between the two opposite opinions that city life inspires. An alternative to the conundrum, to the dilemma of what to choose from the many possibilities that city life provides. What should I choose? A future that is devoid of any inconsistency when it comes to choices. Again, as I said, the passage is about city life, and D appears to be too broad and general to me. It doesn't talk about cities at all. Let's see what do the questions signify. So, here if you see in the last paragraph, the social scientists, they view cities positively. For them, it's an engine for immigrant assimilation, economic empowerment, a site where you can, divert yourself from the standard, you can digress from the standard, and a space for cultural freedom. So basically positive, positive. Whereas in much of the world's poorer nations, they want to transcend density. They don't want to live in density. They living in sprawl is a mark of affluence, of wealth. So they view cities negatively then. So positive view, negative view. And then the author says, what does an alternative look like? Do we have an alternative between these two? Where, there is another kind of density where we have density also, but close-knit communities also, where we have density, but at the same time, we have sustainable places also. So the author is envisaging an alternative to these opposing views on city life, these two opposite opinions that city life inspires, one of fear and one of fetishization, right? So our answer has to be B, Bangalore. Now, it's not about what to choose from the many possibilities. No. Okay, this is tangential. And A says a way out of fear that people have about city life. No, people also admire them. That is also written there. It's not just fear. So A is eliminated. So B, Bangalore is the answer. D, I was right, is too broad. And this is easy to moderate, I would call it. Okay.